Hello, everyone. Dr. Brian Scott with you. We're back again as we are concluding this week. I wanted to get a couple more podcasts ready for you. This is Insight to the End Times, as you probably can see on the screen in just a moment. Beside me, we're looking at where we are in God's timetable. We've been talking about where we are on God's timetable for about well over 1.5 years. We're probably into our 21st month or so on this. And we've been sharing a lot of podcasts with you, and we have been looking at a lot of verses. We've been looking at a lot of time sequences from the scriptures, and we've been looking at a lot of world events that are showing how close we are to the end as we continue to move towards the end of this age that we're living in. And I've got some really good news for you. As we start 2024 in just a few days, we're going to start with some of the basic principles that we already have shared a year and a half ago. We're going to refresh those. We're going to share with you the timetable, sequences, and so on once again, so you'll know exactly what's going on in terms of this end time prophecy study that we're doing. Praise the Lord. Today I want to share with you about news, the news that we read, the news that we see. And can we believe it? Do we believe it? Maybe you're still a believer. I'm a little bit past that point. I don't know what to believe when I see the news or hear the news, because it seems to be just all over the map. But it wasn't always this way. In fact, there was a time when I was growing up as a kid that the newscaster that was on the television news at 6 o'clock, you could bank on what they said. It was absolutely accurate and true and so on. But things have shifted and changed a great deal. As I said yesterday, with all this progress we have in the world today, there is a major price that we have to pay. I want to give you an illustration to point out some of the issues we're having with is it true or not true? There, very recently here in Southern Ontario, there was an incident at one of our international bridge crossings in Niagara Falls, and a car had exploded and hit some buildings that were part of the international crossing, and had caused quite a massive fire. Now, here's what I want to share with you. I'm not trying to poke a finger or point a finger at anyone. I just want to share with you how convoluted this thing became. We immediately were made aware of it, and we went online to see what was being reported. And several of the news agencies, they had breaking news on this. So as I tuned into it to see what was going on, I heard them say that the car that had smashed into the customs buildings was a car coming from Canada and crossing over the bridge into the United States. So it was obviously a Canadian individual, and they basically said, we think this is an act of terrorism. We're not sure, but we think it is. And then the next, minutes later, we had a second report coming in that the car was coming from the U.S. and going into Canada. So now we had this car going in both directions. Then we had the newscaster on site with the pictures of the flames in the background telling us that this car had come from Canada into the U.S. It had cleared the initial customs kiosk. It had cleared its initial clearance. But as it left that position, it accelerated at a fast rate of speed and crashed into the buildings prior to the secondary clearance. So now we got, hey, they made it through the first inspection, and they obviously accelerated purposely and crashed into the buildings on the second. And more stories came forward. So we're not sure what's going on here. Where did it occur? How did it occur? What's happening? But we're advised all 4 international bridges in that region are shut down. The Buffalo International Airport is shut down. We got police everywhere because it could be really a serious attack, and they're starting to talk in terms of 9/11 type of issues and so on. Well, later on, just maybe an hour, maybe not even that long, they started to, internet postings started to appear of phone videos of a vehicle on a secondary road adjacent to the U.S. side of customs, but not in the customs area, having accelerated on an adjacent street. It went airborne, and it hit some of the buildings, and a fire ensued. So it had nothing to do with the bridge crossing at that point. What I'm getting at is this. We had on-site reporters. We had news anchors. We had them sharing all of this stuff. They went through a sequence by sequence by sequence of this thing, all involving stuff that never happened. And it was a couple, maybe a week and a half or so, we learned that it was an older couple, well-established people in the Niagara Falls, Buffalo region. They were on their way to the bridge to cross over into Canada to go to Toronto. They were going to a special presentation. It was a night out for them. It appears that it was a medical condition that occurred where the foot on the accelerator was pressed to the floor. The car went air. It was tragic loss of life, but it had nothing to do with all the stuff that was reported. My point is simply this, and I know I've belabored this maybe too long, but who do we believe? And why can't they get the news straight? And why do they give us so much stuff that doesn't end up being true? The point we're getting at is, who do we believe anymore? Really. Shootings will occur. They may involve blacks and whites. If that's the case, we're going to get an awful lot of stuff flying through the airwaves very, very quickly. May or may not even be close to the truth, but it will cause all kinds of related activity. Some of it will be very damaging. It can result in riots. Whether or not it's true is not the issue that seems to be reported. It doesn't seem to make any difference anymore. It's just we want to create a narrative that is going to fulfill our breaking news report. And I know that sounds very negative, but I think we all have to agree that the real truth of a situation always comes out later, and it's nowhere close to what we've been told all along. And so it leads us to the idea, will we ever really know what happened? Well, it will come out. If there's a court hearing, it will come out in the court hearing, but you know what? They likely won't report it. It likely won't hit the news. I was just made aware of a major international meeting of countries that will have detrimental effects likely on our entire world system that has taken place several months ago, not reported, not in the news. No one heard about it because it didn't fit the narrative of the time. So we are living in perilous times when you can't even trust the news you're receiving. You can't even trust those who are reporting it. They're probably doing the best they can, but are they? We don't know that anymore. The point is, there's a lot of confusion and every evil work at play in our life today. We're living in fabricated times, and we don't even know what the truth really is anymore. I want to share more about that with you tomorrow before we close off this week. And I want to give you a hint on where you can find some truth. It's called the Bible. It's the Bible, and the items, the words, the verses, the scriptures that are reported there, you can absolutely be assured that they are truth and they will come to pass. I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining us.